Welcome to the Football Exponential Show today. I'm joined by Frank.
Hi, Chika. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, and for all our listeners, please, if you're watching us, please smash that like button, subscribe, and drop your comments. Frank, let's start with the first one. It was reported that Florian Wirtz has agreed a 116 million pounds move to Liverpool from Bayer Leverkusen. That's a record signing, right?
Well, there's been the exact finances of the deal have not been clear yet because they are trying to if it add on if it's are they paying this straight away. But for me, I think it's a British record transfer. So
Yeah,
I'm
because
taking
I
it.
saw the last was Caicedo and Enzo. I think Caicedo was 115, Enzo was 105. But
Yeah,
Enzo's own
because
was more initial, not really add-ons. But I think outright.
Enzo is installment payments because I think Chelsea. I think his release clause was about 105, but Chelsea paid more than the release clause so they could stagger the payments across different installments or whatever, something like that. But with Florian Wirtz, it's definitely 100 million, and I'll refer to him as the new 100 million man in the Premier League.
What do you think about his impact? What do you think will be his impact in the Premier League for Liverpool?
I think first of all, it's important to say that going into next season, it was important the Premier League got a superstar like Florian Wirtz, especially with guys like especially with Kevin De Bruyne leaving. The Premier League would have missed that creative spark across the league. But I think that's what Florian Wirtz is going to bring to Liverpool. It's going to bring a lot of creativity, um a lot of goals, and I think it's something they've lacked for a long time. They've really lacked creativity in midfield. That's number 10, that guy that's pulling the strings, getting chances for the strikers and for the wingers alike. But with him, I think it poses a lot of questions at the same time because his quality is not to be questioned. But I think how does it fit into this Liverpool team, and how do you manage to keep what the good parts, the good elements the team had last season? That was the chemistry between Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and McAllister, and Salah, and also add this guy into the team who's not necessarily. I don't think he's a traditional winger per se, but he can play on the wing
Yeah.
in the right system. And the more I've thought about it, I think I'm leaning more into. I think a lot will depend on Liverpool's further business down the window if they do get a striker, but they don't get a traditional quote unquote number nine. I see him playing through the middle as a number nine because I was thinking back to one of the strongest performances last season, Liverpool, and that was the win against Man City away from home, where they played with two number tens and two wingers. No, they didn't play with a striker on the day. So I see Liverpool playing him in that similar position where he can get into the box, at the same time create for Salah because Salah is obviously Liverpool's main goal scorer, and I think it will probably take a lot of creative burden off Salah's shoulders. But at the same time, I think it really raises Liverpool's technical ceiling to the highest it's been in a long time. It's a really really good buy for Liverpool. They're the team that Liverpool they don't really spend a lot in this. They don't really tend to spend this much on transfers. They're always between that 50 to 40 region, except it's Alisson and Virgil van Dijk. But I think for them, if you have the opportunity to sign one of the upcoming talents or probably the hottest German prospect in a long time, you just have to take it and worry about the finances later.
Okay, for me, I'll add more context. He's 22 years. Last season, he played 31 games. He scored 10 goals and then 12 assists. That's Florian Wirtz. Last season,
Yeah.
31 games. I'm talking about league. I'm not really talking about all competitions, right? 31 league games, 10 goals, 12 assists. Very good. Last two seasons, 32 league games.
I'm sorry to interject. Say if he comes in and gets 10 league goals and say about 10 assists next season, is that a good return for your
No,
for the
no, no.
records?
I'll get to that. Hold on, I'll get to that. I get it. Okay, 31 goals, 31 games, 10 goals, 12 assists. A season before them, 32 games, 11 goals, 11 assists. He
Okay.
has his Florian, I'm talking of Florian Wirtz, right? His strong points are technique, vision, agility. He's very, very quick. He has quick
Is a
and he can dribble in a short space or small space. He can do that. He can play within a short space or a large space. He's fast, he can dribble, and he can hit the ball. Now, this is where I said there's more context to that. Now, this is why I'm not really looking at his goals or his assists. Look at his chances, 2.18 chances every game. That is good.
okay.
That is very, very
That's
good. You look at his
that's the
XA, that's
creativity Liverpool
expected
have
as
lacked.
0.36. So if you play with better teammates, for example, he might have a better assist. So you're looking at 0.36 SA. Imagine
Okay,
him creating the kind of chances for Salah. That could take his assist to close to 17 or 18. Now,
okay.
XA, expected assist 0.36. I look at expected assists more than assists though, because expected assists shows me what if you have a better
It,
teammate or if your teammates are helping you here. So the
it shows your
second one is
creativity.
passing, 82% passing. That is good. Now this is where he is extremely good. 1.4 shots on target every game. That is good. 1.49 shots on target, not total shots. So people have 1.9 shots a game. He has 1.49 shots on target every 90 minutes.
Okay.
Now, expected goals is 0.38. Now, that shows me that he is more of an all-rounder in terms of he's not really a number nine, he's like a number 10 or behind the striker or whatever, attacking midfield or whatever you call it. Now, look at his weakness. Remember these numbers. I'm going to compare him with somebody with the next person we are going to talk about. Now, the problem I have with him is that I think he's a number 10 of somebody playing behind the striker. Now, the reason why, having thought about this, I'm not really blowing it out of proportion like other people are blowing out of proportion. I think he will take like 2 to 3 years to become way better. We can't judge him with this 1 year because what I'm feeling is they are going to play him as a first nine, and to me, it's
If
not good for
if
his. It might be
if
good
they
for
play,
the team, but it's not good for his individual career. He's not a number nine because he takes so much from his game. It's like playing Palmer as a number nine. He has to be behind the striker, creating for the striker. Then, if you play him as a number 10 or number 8 behind the striker, where does Siboslai play? Because you take out Siboslai, yes, Siboslai might not be creating like the way Wentz might create. But the problem is that with Siboslai, that physicality, that pressing, he is the intensity. He is the engine room of Liverpool's intensity. So you
he's
take
a
him
glue in
out.
that team. Yeah,
You now understand what I'm trying to say. So
yeah.
do you take out McAllister, then put in Sibosla in McAllister's position, then slot in Vert in Sibosla position. Now, if you take out McAllister, you remember that McAllister is like you see him popping and scoring those very important goals for Liverpool. So now the reason why I see this is an addition, yes, but until I see them buy a proper number nine, maybe they still have that plan. But I can tell you authoritatively, I don't think Liverpool is buying the number nine this season. I don't think, except they sell Nunes, except they get somebody who's going to buy Nunes
They're still expected to sell Darwin
because
Nunes and Luis Diaz. We're not quite sure if it's of his
they
future.
claim they are not selling theirs this season. Because now this is what will blow you. Let me give you the stats. He has very
Hey, yo,
horrible He has very horrible defensive stats. Very, very horrible. So if he plays ahead of McAllister, then that imbalance comes. 0.76 tackles won, 62% of his tackles.
yeah,
0.76 tackles won every game is small for a midfielder.
yeah.
62%. You're looking at area duels won. Area duels is 19% area duels in Bundesliga. In the
Yeah,
Premier
but
League, it
yeah,
can come down to 10.
no, but at the same time, I think it's important to also add that it's not just it's how you platform him in the team because in the system we played in Bundesliga, they played a different system to what I expect Liverpool to play next season. I won't say I won't say I won't say he has defensive weaknesses. I think he has more because he has in terms of he has the highest duel percentage in the Bundesliga last season of
The
any
highest
player
what?
in the highest duels won last season in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, but he wins.
So it
He
should.
wins most of his. He doesn't win area duels. I checked it. He
Yeah,
wins most of
oh
it.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah, yeah.
it's not the biggest of, and I think it's also important to add that last season by Leverkusen they were ranked as the eighth best team in terms of pressing last season. So it's not really the more you press, the more tackles you win high up the pitch, and the more he reflects on his tackles won, all that. But I'm not really. But again, I think it's important to see how he plays in Premier because there's some guys that like. I think the best example is an Enzo Fernandez, where he looks good outside the Premier League. We saw him at the World Cup, but it comes to the Premier League, and it becomes clear that he couldn't quite cope with the intensity of the Premier League then, and it took him a few years to physically develop into the player he's become now. I think he's gone through physical transformations in his playing style, and he's playing a lot higher up the pitch and he's creating more chances. He's helping the team scoring more goals. And like you said, it could take him a few months. It could take him a year or two to settle into the rhythm of the Premier League. But again, I feel the worry. I don't worry about the player per se because I believe he's a very good player. I think Liverpool this is a very though it's a very expensive, but I think Liverpool have gotten a very good player. But at the same time, I worry about the noise outside the club. I worry about the noise around the whole thing. Say you're going into a title winning team, and with that transfer fee, there's an expectation you can't. Yes, you're expected to start. I don't expect you to be on the bench because I think they have the competition. They play the competition before the season starts. You're expecting to start that game. You're expecting to be on the team sheet on the first day of the season, and how he performs and the narrative from there it could really cloud the overall. Like say Pogba for example and Ozil for example, those kind of players that they came to Premier League for big money, big reputations, but they never quite settled. If you understand what I'm saying, they never really got the adoration and the appreciation of the overall play in the Premier League. It could be, I think, for right or wrong, but there'll be conversations had about this player, and it will be interesting to see how the club, the coach, the player, his teammate, they all adapt to this because this is not just you're not just signing a player. You've made a sizable like for when they say marquee signing, this is a marquee signing. This is in terms, I can't compare it. The closest I would say in terms of the Premier League, the closest in terms of transfer is for Pogba to Manchester United, where a player is coming with a big reputation and you expect him to do the magic from day one. It will be tough. I think we'll watch and see how that develops. At the end of the day, I wish him well, but I don't wish him too well.
I wish him
But we'll
well, but
see.
I pray for his downfall. But I think he'll
We'll be
be all
watching. We'll
right.
be watching.
I think he has a mentality like he has a strong. I think he will do very very well. But like I said, this is not a signing for this season. I'm not even looking at him this season. This is because if you
Okay.
look at Enzo Fernandez, this was his third season in Chelsea. It took him like 3 years to get to where he is right now.
Yeah.
And I feel Wirtz is a better player than Enzo is, attacking wise and all those. Yes, I feel it. But at the same time, I expect him to really not put up the same numbers or the same exploits that he did while at um while at in Germany. Because I'm seeing that they're looking at life after Mohamed Salah. That's what I'm thinking they are looking at right now. That's why they signed him. Yeah, they're
Yeah. Yeah.
looking at
Just
when Salah leaves because they are going to hand over the keys of the kingdom or keys of Liverpool to him. So they are looking at getting everything, let him play with Salah for the last 2 years, and then he becomes their main offensive player. So I'm not looking at it as this season. I don't really think. Well, I think you look at this signing 3 years from now, and to me, you will end up a Premier League legend. I think it's a very good signing.
Premier League. Okay. Well, we'll see.
No, I think he has. I'm even as a Chelsea fan, I pray it doesn't happen. But I think what I've seen of him so far, because I think he's mentally someone. It is very rare that you see a German player saying they don't want to play Bayern for Bayern Munich. Most of
Yeah.
I respected
Yeah.
him for that because I looked at him as and Musiala as the two number tens. Who does the team belong to? Yes, no, but I was like, no, you have to go to a team where you are the most important person, and he chose Liverpool. I'm looking at him and the parents and people who are making the best decision for themselves. So I think it will end up well. I saw that same thing with Kevin De Bruyne. I doubted it, but he proved everybody wrong. Remember when they splashed 40 million on De Bruyne and he did that? So I expect this to go down the same way, the same route. But I pray it doesn't. As a rival
Yeah,
fan.
I think. Yeah, I think if he has half of the impact Kevin De Bruyne had in Premier League, then that's a successful signing.
Yeah.
And again, I always like, because again, we always say time will tell, and that's like, if time goes by and you stop worrying about, like, I think, like I said, there's one where you don't talk about the price tag anymore. Like, this guy, you see him on the pitch, you see how he plays, how he's important to that team. Nobody worries about how much it costs because he's doing the business. So good luck to Liverpool and Wirtz. I'll be watching closely next season.
Okay, let's go to the next person. Rayan Cherki. Manchester City's had dispatched 34 million pounds on 21-year-old Ryan Cherki from Lyon, uh, an attacking midfielder, or I don't
Yeah.
know if you can call him. I think he's also a forward. He's more of a forward than an attacking.
He's
He's not a number nine, but he can play in all positions.
is one of those guys that, and I think in the French league they produce them a lot, where they bust through at a young age. And they play in different systems, different positions. He's played on the left and right wing. He's played as a number 8, played as a number 10. But I think this past year he said he got finally settled in the system as one of the playmakers behind the striker Liverpool in Lyon last season.
He has, yeah, but he has one of the worst stats. Like statistically, he's awful. But if you watch him, and this was his best season ever. You look at last season, he had 30 games, 8 goals, 11 assists. Then you look at last 2 seasons, he had 33 games, 1 goal, six assists. 33 games, 1 goal, 6 assists. One I feel I don't think
I,
I
I
don't
know,
think in recent football last season I've seen anyone that has as bad stats as he has, because if you watch him and you look at other things, you realize this he's a magnificent player.
yeah,
It's just so good. Because look at his expected assists, 0.52 expected assists. That means in every game he's expected to produce 1 assist, and he produced 11 in 30. That now tells
yeah,
you that his teammates are underperforming or not. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because if you pair him up with
yeah.
a good striker, look at his assist 0.48, expected 0.52. Look at chances per game, 3.30 chances per game. I looked at Florian Wirtz, 2.18 chances. He has way better chances, although it's French league, it's a lower league than him. But why I love him so much is he's a showman. Like this guy, he is a show guy. Like when I mean
Is
show,
like,
yeah,
I think
like
if you watch Hazard, when Hazard was coming through in the French league, and when he eventually moved to Chelsea, they have that same vibe about them. Because whenever they get that ball, that first touch is always towards goal. They're always trying to take a player on, trying to get something going. Because I think he also ranks number one in League One for most through balls completed last season in the entire league, and for big chances created, number one in League
yeah,
One. So
like what?
it shows is a very creative player. But the big conversation then comes into how does it translate? How does his talent translate into a Man City team? Not a Pep's Man City team. How do you get the best out of this player that is so flamboyant to watch, is so fluid, so flexible it is with style of play? How do you get that guy into to fit into a very, I'll say, a very rigid and structured team like Pep sets out in Man City? How do you can those two combine? Do you see him playing well or having a good time at Man City?
I think he's going to have a very good. The problem is that I don't know if he thought about this transfer though as an individual, because to me, he's not a Pep Guardiola type of player. He's not. That's my greatest problem.
I'll
No,
push back. I'll push back. No, I think I'll push back heavy on that, because I think the idea of a Pep Guardiola player has changed and morphed over the last few years. Because, like, if you think about, like, if you think about it, like the likes of a David Silva per se, a or a player like Douglas Costa, these guys, even Salah, you wouldn't necessarily call them a Pep type of player, but I think with Pep Guardiola, what's guaranteed? He's going to put you in the best system, and he's going to get the best out of you, platform you the right way. As long as you meet your end of that bargain, that is doing the work, doing the hard yards, doing the run, because he also leaves a lot of room for creativity. A lot of people disagree that he stifles creativity, but I feel it's quite the opposite. He sets the team up to get into the right positions, then the rest is on you to make the final pass, the final shot, or the final action. It comes down to individual player. And I feel when Man City struggles, particularly last season, the guys in the attacking third were not as good as it's had the Man City. talking about guys like Doku, Savinho, even Fifo, they didn't have a fantastic season. And the moment Mamouche comes in, you see Mamouche looks exciting, looks electric from the very first game. And I see Cherki having the same impact in Man City. But the big issue or the big question is how do you get all these guys into the same 11? Cherki, Mamouche, Erling Haaland, Foden, Savinho, Doku. That's a lot of attacking talent. How do you get all of them that in that Man City team? It's very, I think it's tough, but you will probably have a very good bench going into next season. But it's very, but I think I'm between him and Florian Wirtz, I'm like really excited to look. I'm looking forward to next season because that is a lot of good attacking players in Premier League coming to Premier League.
Left to me, I think sometimes I listen to Pep and I don't want to say I
Say,
want to
say,
say
say, say,
something,
say,
but it's hard. I don't
say.
want to say he looks like he's lying or he's not being truthful to himself or he's being economical with the truth. But like Pep is someone I feel that like he's not being disingenuous. He says like Wenger, like there's a manager. If I listen to him, even when something happens, he say I didn't see it. I take Arsene Wenger is that kind of a manager. Like it's not like a Mourinho. I used to look at Pep in that certain way. But lately, when I listen to him talk, I'm like thinking, are you making us feel? He was talking about Grealish when he was saying, no, you don't like this guy. He's not your type of player. You see how the Chelsea coach, everybody who went out on loan, don't come back to Chelsea. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, makes it clear. Now, I look at Pep. He doesn't want a big squad. He wants only 23 players. But you're going on a buying spree. You understand what I'm trying to say? You
And
don't buy Nico something, Gonzalez or whatever. You have Rodri. What are you doing? You have Doku. You have Doku. You have what's the other guy? You have Sevino. You just have Cherki. You have the renders. So where are they going to play?
and I think that's a very interesting point because if you look at Man City's transfer business in the last 18 months, not just the players they signed, but the volume of players they've signed,
They had like six
it's a
play,
lot.
six transfers
It's a
just
lot.
in January. Like
It's very unlike Man City because they really they sign players, but they really go there and sign. It's almost like Chelsea's transfer policy where they just buy all these players without regard for how they fit into the team. Monks, because they went heavy in January. I think they spent about 200 million in January window. It's only Mamouche was the only guy that was in Man City's team week in week out. The other guys were barely on the bench. I think Victor Reyes was barely on the bench. The two cent of the guy that made his debut against Chelsea. After a while, he stopped. After a while, he stopped appearing in the starting 11. Nico Gonzalez, it took him a while to get to the first team as well. Then it was in and out, and it's all looking at because they've also had a change upstairs in terms of the sporting director. They have a new sporting director there, and it seems they're trying to go down the same route where so if you see a good player out there for good value, you go get him without necessarily thinking about how he's going to come and fit into your team in that moment. Because all you know, if especially with Man City, they have a multi-club model. Some players you can just shift them around, either in Spain or in France. And the ones that are good, like the Mamouches, obviously Nico Gonzalez can probably contribute to Man City's first team. But other guys like Kusanov, Victor Reyes, they probably get moved out quite soon. And it's and the question, I think the biggest question would be asked, are these Pep signings or are these Manchester City's transfer dealings? Does he have his influence over the signings? Because I think from the outside looking in, I don't think he has of course he will always have a say, but I don't think this is exactly his design.
say something. You have Guardiola was playing as a left back. He moved into central position. So you have Guardiola and you have Diaz as your starting centre backs. You have
That's a
Akonji.
good
You have Ake. You have the guy from
Stones,
Uzbekistan. You have the guy that he bought from La Liga. You are looking at five. There's a
La
black
Liga.
guy. I think they sent him on loan or something.
Yeah, they said yeah, every year was
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, but you understand this. We are not talking about academy players. These are five. So now he still went and signed the left back also. The Aitnori, who is
I don't know.
excellent to me as a as an attacking left back to me. Yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
has to be Kukureya. Kakes,
Kekes,
Nori, and
Robinson.
Robinson. These four
Yeah,
defenders are the best attacking left backs in the Premier League. It's not about Guardiola scores a lot of goals, but you don't really see the
yeah,
influence he had. Yeah,
yeah. Okay, but like you, and you mentioned that Nori, and I think with or my question would be, do you think Man City have improved or have they fixed the holes they had in their team last season? Because I still think all this, even Tijani Reinders as well. Reinders, Cherki, Nori, those that's good business. But at the same time, I think the places where Man City look or need instant improvements are right back. I think I'm not sure I'm not sure what's happened with Ederson because last season it was sometimes it was Ederson, sometimes it was the other guy. Ortega.
something is
I don't know
going up.
what's happened.
Something is going on
I don't know
upstairs. I
what's
don't know who's making the
yeah,
signings.
no, it's looking. It doesn't look very clear in terms of the thought process. It doesn't look clear from the outside looking. It doesn't look that. It doesn't look clear because they definitely need a right back. They need a right back for sure. They still need. I'm not convinced of Nico Gonzalez in that midfield for that guy that comes in to deputize for Rodri while he still gets back to full fitness. Or even if going to next season, you need that guy that can come in here and there. You still have Gundogan. They still. What happens to Phil Foden? What happens to the other guys? The guys like Rico Lewis, because it's very because like again you said like Pep wants a small squad, and the recent business does not make you think this squad is getting bigger and bigger.
And they're not talking about departure.
And and I think the part I think Grealish is definitely going to leave because he didn't travel with them to the Club World Cup, so I think Grealish should probably leave. Uh, Walker is no longer there. I think they've signed very good players. I think this player you said, I think I like just about all of them. Cesar Rangers.
Cherki is my guy. Like I look at the stats and I look at his magnificent. You look at
It's
dribble success, 52% dribble success. The number of times he attempts to dribble to have that 52% dribble success is something else. Look at goals, 0.35 goals, expected goals, 0.2, 0. So expected goals 0.22, and he's delivering 0.35. That means he over delivered or outperformed his expected goals. The only problem I have is if you compare him with Vets, and 1.9 1.98 shots a game. Remember when I told you Vets has 1.49 shots on target per game? Cherki has 1.98 shots per game. Total shots, not on target. So that tells me he doesn't shoot as often as he does. But I think he's more of a player that likes to feed he just gets that satisfaction from dishing out the ball. Yeah.
and I think with him, I think the player that also it benefits from a lot of freedom on the pitch, going around picking up the ball where he can, expressing himself. But again, I think still the question is how do you fit him into this Man City 11?
Yeah, I don't know. I
How do
don't
you
know.
like
At
because
the same time,
if you think
I don't think this season. Like people, when I look at analysts saying, "Oh, Liverpool, these I sent you something yesterday where they were saying,
yeah
I'm
yeah
looking at people.
yeah
They're saying there's no way Chelsea. There's no way Chelsea. What was it? You can say I don't expect Chelsea to finish fourth, but saying there's no way, like it's factual, right? I'm
yeah
watching at people saying that Liverpool are going to retain the title. I'm like, where were these people when everybody tipped Manchester City to win the title? Why couldn't they predict Man City's collapse? No. Now,
yeah
in essence, right? I look at Manchester City. In as much as they sign new player, the job Pep is going to do is going to be, to me, a little bit more difficult than the one Enzo Maresca is going to do at Chelsea. Yes, he has more better players, but in Chelsea, there's some fundamental foundations that you have. There's some fundamental pieces that you have. You have Caicedo, who's going to start every year. You now have Kukureya, who's going to start. You have Kupama. In Manchester City, it's hit and miss. We don't know the
yeah and
Rodri we are going to get back this season. We don't know. It can take him two to.
yeah
It took
there are a lot
Van
of
Dijk more
questions.
than 2 years to his standard. The second season he was good, but his standard wasn't good. We don't know the Rodri we are getting. I don't know how Ortega and Ederson, who is the number one, he keeps rotating them. The same thing. There's no right back. Diaz has dropped. He's no longer the Diaz he used to be. Guardiola is one person you can build a team on. He's good. You look at in attack. So to me, they have, yes, higher ceiling, yes, and way better players. But he's going to try so many things before the season ends to find out what he really, really wants to do. Unlike maybe a Chelsea. Yeah, continue.
And I take with him because if you look at Pep Guardiola, like his coaching career, since he goes into a Bayern Munich team that already has the players there, all he just has to do is just get there. I know this is an oversimplification, but he goes there, puts the right structure, moves players around, moves Lamb to midfield, but you still have Robben, you have Ribery, you have Thomas Muller, you get Lewandowski, Toni Kroos, all these guys are in that team. You come to Man City, first season was a struggle. You had Kevin De Bruyne, Sterling, Sane, then they start cooking. I think now, for the first time in a very long time, he has to figure out a lot of issues on that team because even the guy, Severino and Doku, they've not been good enough for Man City the last 2 years. That's a fact. There's still not necessarily an issue, but there's still the Erling Haaland question. Does Haaland play well?
Doku cannot be good.
Okay,
Doku.
so
I don't know
it's
much. I watched Doku in Euro. I watched Doku. I can remember very well. The Euro, one of the Euros, you know better. Remind me of the Euro.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I watched him
It's
come in as a
Euro
substitute. He was he
Euro
playing for
2000.
Anderlecht or something. He hadn't moved to
Right, right.
France. He
No,
moved
I
to
think it was a
France,
friendly.
moved to Manchester City 3 years after. He was still the same player I watched. This is who he is. It's like Solomon Kalou. When you watch Kalou come to Chelsea, those same
Yeah,
deficiencies, he got better a little bit, but he was never the player you expected him to be. I don't know much about
and
Semenyo.
and and I think with Doku, I think his standout performance in that tournament you're talking about was the game against I think Italy or
He came
Portugal
as
where
a
he came off
substitute or something and he
he
changed the
came off the
game.
bench. And I think even with Doku, with most of his better Man City performances have been off the bench as well, where he comes off the bench, he brings because he's rapid, he's quick, he has quick feet. But at the same time, I think Henry was talking about him a few weeks ago, like the because I think Henry was assistant coach to the Belgian national team there, and he gave I think was giving an advice like most times when you're dribbling, do you have that picture in your head? Do you know your next move? Because if you don't know that, if you don't know your next move, it's hard to it's hard to get that end product. And I think the player has really because he looks like a traditional winger, but at the same time he doesn't attack the back post. He doesn't get into goal scoring positions. His shooting is a bit. He, I think not just I think overall he's still very inconsistent, erratic with his decision making, finishing, and he's a player that still needs. That at this moment in time, I don't think he's ready for a team like Man City to challenge for the title. But then okay, what is Pep? Is Pep going to go in next season with? Is he going to just go out there and play all the attacking players at the same time, play Erling Haaland, Mamouche, Foden, Cherki, and just let them do it? Or but if there's anybody that can figure all this out tactically, I think it's Guardiola, and I won't be surprised to see him come up with something very unique next season, probably like a 4-4-2 or a 4-2 or a 4-2-2-2 system or something like that. So it's been intriguing to see how it performs, but I still expect him to make one more big signing in the transfer window. And I think that player that they really want might be hard to get.
Let's go to the next one. Thomas Frank. He has been announced as the new manager for Brentford.
It pains me.
I
It
know, I
pains me. It
know.
pains me.
I'm happy for him though.
No,
I'm
it
so
pains me.
I'm so excited for him. How do you think? Do you think he will transform Tottenham?
Well, transform. Again, this is a team that finished. Was it 17th last season?
Do you think he can make Tottenham to be a team that consistently qualifies for the Champions League? Because
I
I
don't know.
regard signing
I don't know.
they
I
spend
don't know.
money. The problem is
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and they spend money and like there's a whole damn living pressure. But I think his job or his job in the first 6 months or 8 months is to get a team that really underperformed last season to get them higher up the table. And at the same time, getting the best out of guys like Solanke, Madison, Kulusevski at the same time, finding a system that doesn't leave Tottenham open in a lot of games they play, find a structure in that team, also get them compact. I think the job, in terms of where they finish, in terms of Champions League places, I'm not quite sure. I think it's still early to decide where Same as my lineup because they also have Champions League football. They need a bigger squad. They need more quality in that team. So they still need to spend on the market. But I think with him, I think he has to go there, get that culture right in that team, find the players that fit into the team's overall ethos or his overall ethos. The ones that don't fit, you move them out quickly, get the right signings. But I think overall, it's just to I think overall his job is just to improve on last season. And anything, even a sixth, will look like an improvement from a disastrous season where they lost again. Tottenham lost 21, they lost 22 league games last season. That is basically relegation form. So he has to go there and see again because with the I think preseason is very short. He doesn't have a lot of time to get all this right, but he's going to a team that have good players. And if you can get Madison Solanke firing, those two firing particularly, get them stronger in defense, you're already at an advantage because they still, and that's not what a lot of people say. I think Tottenham they have a good team. I know I don't care what Anne said. And even if you can improve their injury record next season, that's already an advantage. That already puts them in a very good situation. It pains me to root against Thomas Frank because this is a guy I really like as a coach. But he's I think he's one of those guys that has deserved an opportunity at one of the biggest clubs for a long time. And if you believe there were rumors, and if you believe the rumors, he was this close to getting the Liverpool job last season. He was this close to getting it. And what puts, according to what the rumors say, what puts Liverpool off was the fact that they had this so they had the release clause he had on his contract was too high for Liverpool at that time, so they considered someone else. So it's very. I think I'm happy for him. At the same time, I don't wish him well because again, it's Tottenham. I don't wish him well. But
The
we'll see.
reason why I rave about him because I can tell you authoritatively that I think Tottenham will qualify for Champions League again next season. This is why. Let me give you an example.
That's
This is why I feel.
that's that's too early though.
No, no, I know. But I will explain. I understand. Now I get you. Now I don't see Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City dropping out. Right? I get it.
Yeah.
The business Man United has done this season, I'm not yet convinced. I'm not really convinced.
But they're the
Because
same.
I even look at their signings. To me, I don't think Doku is good enough to be starting for Manchester United on the left for that manager.
Dogu,
Dogu.
Dogu,
Watch
Dogu,
him, right? You look at him. He has the power. He has the strength, right? He
PMP.
can slot, not really that bad. But I'll give you an example of a player. Let me give you an example of a player. He might be a wing back by trade or a left-sided midfielder by trade. But the way he converts his chances, the Quatara guy in Bournemouth, for example,
Yeah.
you see how when he takes his player on. Dogu is sometimes scared of taking a player on.
But do you think that's a player problem, or is that not is that
I
not a
don't know if
system
it's.
problem?
I'm not convinced about Amorim. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I'm not convinced about the team. You understand what I'm trying to say? I don't know what it is. Sincerely, I don't know. Cunha is good. Mbuemo is perfect. They get a striker is perfect. In attack, they don't have a problem. Fernandez is they don't have a problem. But there are so many pieces in that his three-man defense. The only guy that I think is fit for him is the French guy, the young guy he bought. I don't think that the elite is a natural defender for his system. I don't think um Maguire, I don't think is long term for him. Look, sure, how often is he going to be fit? He's perfect, but how often? But understand what? So that's why I'm counting on Man U. I don't know what I'm getting from Manchester United. Then I don't know. Newcastle, I've seen this tape play. I've seen this happen when they have Champions League. You look at them, apart from Isak, you look at the beginning. People say a lot of things about Maresca. But when you look at even with the Europa League, with the Conference League, Maresca still finished ahead of Newcastle. Maresca, Chelsea still finished ahead of Newcastle. With all the goals Isak scored, with all the good form Newcastle had, they still finished ahead of them. And Newcastle did not have any Champions League or European competition. Now they have it. The squad is not big enough to be changing. Understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's true. That's true. That's
Look
true.
at Villa. Also, I don't think Bournemouth. So I'm looking at Thomas Frank. He doesn't do very well in cup competitions in England. I can't remember when Brentford went to the.
Okay. But it's also important to add that he's been at Brentford for the last, I think, for last 6 years. It's again, it's Brentford. Like their capacity to perform in cup competitions is not really. You don't expect them to be that. The limit every season is to go and finish any position higher than 16th is already a win for Brentford. Regardless, they're not like they've not. You don't expect them to be around. They're not like a Villa or Newcastle that you expect them to be challenging for cups. But I also feel with Thomas Frank, what is excellent at, he's a coach that he pays a lot of attention to the fine margins in games. Say for example, how many teams do you think scored from throw-ins last season?
Two.
There's only one,
That did
and
what?
that's Brentford. So from a throw-in last season, that's the only one, and that's Brentford. Brentford scored 4 goals from a throw-in last season. So it's no, sorry, the two Brentford and Bournemouth. But it shows that this is a coach that if he pays attention to those details, set pieces, I think he will improve Tottenham with their set pieces.
But
But
this is why I read about him. Yeah, finish.
yeah, but I think with him, it's not. I don't expect him to go to Tottenham, fix the club immediately, and they are instantly they're riding high. They're playing good football. It will take them a while to get it going. One thing I'm sure of. They'll be very tough to beat. They won't be as easy as they were this season on the last 2 years. Because the goals they conceded, the games they lost was just not acceptable. But I think he will take them up a level. But I don't because again the Premier League is so hard. And I think you have 8 or 9 teams in Europe next season from the Premier League.
So, and how many teams in Europe?
I think it's 9. I think you have 9 teams.
I don't even know. Premier League teams. I
Yeah,
think
in
it's
Europe.
five in the Premier League, one in two in Europa, and then one in Conference League. So five, six, seven, eight, eight. I think it's eight.
Yeah, seven. You have 7 teams in seven. No, you have 8 teams. Eight. Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest are also there as well. So you have 8 teams. So that will affect. It will affect a lot of them. It will affect everybody. A lot of points. I expect the Premier League to be very, very tough. A lot of very competitive next season. A lot of teams will drop points. And
Everybody that should finish in top four is involved in Europe next season. Everybody. So
well,
I think that's an advantage to Tottenham at least. Like
yeah,
with
yeah.
the only people that are out is the likes of Brighton, Bournemouth, and Fulham and Brentford, for example.
Yeah.
This is why, like I told you, with Thomas Frank, I feel they've hit a jackpot as regards the Premier League, and player development. Not really about winning trophies. I'm not going to that. In his
No,
first
so
season, Brentford promoted for the first time in their history to the Premier League in 2021. His first season in Premier League, he finished 13th. That is huge. 13th in his first season, Thomas Frank. Ever since then, they finished 2 times in the top half of the Premier League. That's a massive achievement for a team.
yeah,
2 times in
yeah.
the top half of the season. You look at that, you look at the players, you look at the players he has made, you look at David Raya, you look at Evan Tony, you look. So, in terms of player development, I don't have any
Okay,
doubt
stop.
that he's
Yeah, yeah.
able to get the best out of the team. His focus is always in the Premier League.
But
I mean, in his first season, when he was promoted from assistant coach to become the main coach, he lost his first 10 games. After that, he won manager of the season. He won one of his first 10 games in the championship. After that, soon after that, he was the manager of the month. So it might be tough for some time, but I think he will do a good job in the Premier League, in the league. That's what I feel.
and again with him is always like I think the big worry about or regards to him is be okay, can he come and play. Brentford are very you put them on you put them as a very defensive team that they know how to stop the position, but can they play attacking football? Can they create dominate position? I think a lot of people will be surprised at how well he can bridge that gap. And I think also the special thing, what makes him right for his Tottenham job. This is the guy that doesn't have any. It's not like any of these new managers that has the principle. Okay, this is my philosophy. I have this way. We're going to play this way. I'll try and fit every player into this system or this formation. And they have to. If it's not working, they have to make it work. I think that will probably be his biggest strength because he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any philosophy that is wedded to. It's
So
not. It's not.
Tom Frank doesn't have a philosophy.
You
The
can say
only
it's like
philosophy he
a
has is high intensity high press. His first 20 minutes is like Jesus. There was a time Brentford was scoring, they used to score the first goal in their first 20. Pep Guardiola said that his toughest opponents in the Premier League is Brentford.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they press like this thing.
No, the
He
press
rather
and
changes his system to suit his players, not the other way around. You look at Damsgaard. I didn't know Damsgaard had 10 assists this season. And look at the way he
no,
put him in position
no,
to be
as
productive.
an attack as an attacking force in Premier League, they were one of the best attacking team in the Premier League last year. They scored more goals than Tottenham. I think that's right. I think they scored more. I think they definitely scored more goals than Tottenham.
But I don't know how he will be welcomed in
Yeah,
Tottenham because remember it took him like more than 4 months to record his first away win. Beginning of the season, they
yeah.
were awful away. They won most of their games. I think Chelsea was Chelsea the first team to beat them at home in their home. They were always winning at home, at home, at home. When they go away, that's the two most difficult clubs for me. Small clubs, but I don't know why they not really small. I won't say they are small clubs, but understand what I'm trying to say. The mentality of the fans is like they are Real Madrid, West Ham, and Tottenham. Like it's not about winning. When you win, they change the goalposts. You are not playing good football. When you play, so what do you? It's not like Chelsea where all Chelsea fans want to do is win.
We just win. Yeah.
He doesn't care. But West Ham will be like, oh, we want to win in the West Ham way. What do you really
Well, so
want?
we,
Because you look at him, what happens if he comes in and he doesn't win in 3 months away games? That's the problem I have with clubs. Like, look at
yeah,
Espirito or whatever. Nuno Santo. He won the manager of the season. The first, like, 3 months, he was playing excellent football. 4th month, he had a problem. He was sacked.
but that's where and I think that's where like a guy like Nuno, for example, like it's not just. I don't think he was sacked just for the results per se. It's because you look at him and just from day one, he didn't look like a Tottenham manager. He didn't look like a guy
He
that
did look.
belonged at a team like that. And even guys like Jose Mourinho, Conte, I know they got different. They went about differently and they had a little bit of success here and there, but I don't think they ever looked like a Tottenham manager. What I mean by Tottenham manager, I'm talking about like the best or the most impressive Tottenham managers in the last few years has been Pochettino is a standout one, and that's a guy that
Yeah, yeah,
had like he had that control. He was in charge of the in charge. It looked the fit was just right, and I think it we'll see how he looks in the next few when about from preseason. But I expect him to. Was one of my big issues with Ange was his how he communicated in the press was not the best.
yeah. He
It
was
was it was
he
it
was
was not
always looking
really.
like the press was there to attack him. The way he looks at them before he answers the question is all
Yeah,
about.
there was, and I hate to say it because obviously I don't know. There was this snide. I won't say arrogant, but there was this snide um, look or mannerism he always had when he was talking to the press. It was almost as if he looked down on them, that he was above the question, that
Yeah,
they
yeah,
shouldn't
yeah.
be asking, they shouldn't be facing those questions.
And
But
it
I
was
think with
consistently. It's not like it's one like Mourinho has that sometimes. Some managers have Conte has that, but you can't be coming to press conference every week. Is always having that attitude.
yeah, and well, again, we'll see how because like you talked about how he can develop players, and with player development, you need time, you need that 2 3 years because guys like in
Yeah,
Buemo,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Damsgaard, we said they have been at that club for a long time, but they finally hit it right in this past few this season. So you need that time. But the advantage you have, you already have some of the parts there. You have the Solanke who's a capable Premier League goal scorer. I don't expect Son to be at that club. I don't expect Mr. Romero to be at that club. I think they need to move some of those guys away. For me, Romero, Son, and Basuma, those three have to go. You have to replace. You have to move those guys on. Get the right replacement because it's not.
Bituma and Bentacle have 1 year to go on their contract. I think they'll be leaving on a free.
Yeah, then I think I think you have to give them make that decision. But it's also, I think it's also important that the technical director at Tottenham right now is also Danish, and two of them, Thomas Frank and technical director, they worked together at one of the Danish clubs years ago, so they have that relationship there. I think that will help
Yeah.
him communicate his ideas and what they need with the team. And but because again, it's just I think worst case scenario will be he goes there and Tottenham starts flat. because the questions will then come. Because I still, it's crazy to me, but a lot of Tottenham, but since a lot of Tottenham fans were upset at this sacking of Poch, oh sorry, this sacking of Ange, where a lot of Tottenham fans expected him to stay or they wanted him to stay, which is crazy to me. I, I don't know how you go a whole season where you lose 22 Premier League games. I don't care who that manager is. If it's Johan Cruyff, Pep Guardiola, you have to go. You can't lose 22 Premier League games and keep your job. There's no excuse for it. You said the injuries, but I really don't care. You can't lose 22 Premier League games. You should have lost that job twice over. I don't care if you win. I don't care if you win a Champions League. In fact, 22 Premier League defeats, you have to go. 22.
I get what you're saying. Now he's the only manager to have lost it, and it's even worse when you check at 50 something games in total. I think beginning of the year or something, he was off in the league.
No, 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 no. Just like put in context. Do you know how many games Leicester Ipswich lost? Ipswich lost 24 games. Leicester 25. Tottenham lost 22 games. 22. That's 22 weekends where you go into those games.
And then they lost 22, and then in 38 games they lost 22, maybe drew 5.
So again, just instantly, his job is to turn those 22 defeats into more draws and more wins. It sounds so simple, but I don't expect Tottenham to lose anywhere near 22 games next season. I expect them to be pushing high up the Premier League. But like you said, like you're just looking at the table, I think it's going to be really, really packed because there are a lot of good clubs here. But I think one club I worry about, just I know it's still early. A lot of clubs will still do business, but I'm worried about Bournemouth.
Oh,
I'm worried about Bournemouth.
but why are you worried
No,
about?
no, because I think just at this moment they could just about lose four of their starting back five from last season. That's Kepa's not coming back. Kekes is leaving. Hoyston has gone to Real Madrid.
Decided not, they were the ones that decided not to renew Kepa. You remember me and you had that argument. It was Dortmund
Yeah,
who
yeah,
decided. It wasn't Kepa.
yeah, yeah. It's which again. I think I think defensively that was the best defensive season Bournemouth have had in the Premier League since they've been in the Premier League. I think he had, as you know my opinions about Kepa. I think he had a good season there. And for 5 million, you make that
Who
deal.
won that
Since he's on his way to the Champions League winners, PSG.
to a PSG?
Yeah.
Who's their right
So
back again?
the right back they have I think
He was injured for most of the. I think the right back was injured,
Smith, but I think they use Lewis Cook at right back. So, but obviously
and they might
they don't
lose.
have money
They
to
might lose the menu.
exactly. They might lose Semenyo as well. Kluivert is being linked to Bayer Leverkusen as well, so they'll lose a lot of players. And when you lose that, not just good players in a good team, but when you lose the volume of players, they might lose. How do you then adjust quickly? Because you have to. Because one thing's for sure, all the guys that come into the door, they won't. It might take some of them a few months, a few games to adjust to his. Because again, this guy has a unique style of play, Ilarela. So it's very to see how it goes.
I feel Semenyo will leave this season. I don't know why, because I feel if Manchester United gets in Buemo, to me, if you can't get in Buemo, Semenyo is the easiest target for you if you can't get in Buemo. That's what I feel in the Premier League. Because I was having an
Because
argument with an Arsenal fan where he was saying Arsenal need Rafael Leao, and I'm not
no, 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 no. I'll take
the laziest forward
I'll,
I've ever seen.
I'll take Semenyo and Mbeumo over Leao any day, easily. And it's not just a talent. It's not a matter of talent. 'Cause I think Leao probably is the more talented player, but it's the whole package. I don't think Leao has that package.
Okay, Frank, that should be all for us today. Join us
Nice.
again next week. Thanks for everybody. Have a good
Okay,
one.
thanks.
Bye
Cheers.
bye.